Moms for Liberty really worked miracles.
We have a crisis in America in public education. This is the future of our kids and our country.
You are joyful warriors.
And we are just getting started. Welcome to the Fire of Liberty show. I'm Tina Deskovich, the CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty. Today, we have a lot to talk about, and we've got a great show planned for you. But I'd like to start off talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center, who, as you know, our great Kash Patel has come down and placed, or I guess a grand jury's come back, but under the leadership of Kash Patel, the investigation was done to find out that the Southern Poverty Law Center, of no surprise to any of you, is a corrupt, awful, horrible, despicable, what's that book? No Good, Terrible Day, No Good, Terrible Group. And what they've done to Moms for Liberty since placing us on their hate map in 2023 is extensive. It was deliberate, it was calculated, and it deeply impacted our organization, our members, our ability to function and grow and be effective. It didn't stop us, let me be clear, but it has quantifiably harmed our organization. And so we are watching this closely. We are exploring all of our legal options with the organization. And I look forward into the coming months, more actions being taken, more layers of the onion being pulled away, and hopefully some real justice being served to them and to the victims of all of the crimes that they have committed. For those that maybe aren't aware, the Southern Poverty Law Center, I think, was a pretty decent group maybe in the 60s when it was actually fighting the things that were going on in the 60s with racial discrimination and targeting and the KKK, and they did some good work exposing that. But they, just like many others throughout history, got too big, too powerful, and too much money. Their endowment now, I think, is over $500 million. Can you believe that? And what we've learned in the last week is that they've been paying leaders of these radical organizations, similar to the KKK and the neo-Nazis, to sow more division in our countries. So then they could go out and advertise that they were going to go solve the problem. It is just like a firefighter going in and setting the fire and then turning around and saying, "I'm coming to put out the fire." And so we are just watching this closely, and we aren't celebrating in their demise, but we absolutely are feeling a little bit gratified in some of the justice that will be served. And with me today on the Fire of Liberty show is someone that's been with us from day one, and so she knows exactly what the Southern Poverty Law Center has done to this organization. We'll talk a little bit about that today, but we've got so much to cover because Florida State Representative Monique Miller is with us today. She is a cyber security and IT executive. She is a Florida State Representative. She serves on the Moms for Liberty Board of Directors and the Moms for Liberty Foundation Board of Directors, and she's also been a very good friend of mine for a very long time. Welcome to the show, Monique.
Happy to be here.
I think it's going to be a fun conversation. We were talking earlier that we have to try to be serious.
We don't really have to.
That this could get out of hand real quick
Yeah.
with a whole lot of good times, because we have been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And you've been with us a long time.
Yeah.
And you have lent us your expertise in IT, which we desperately needed from day one.
Yeah.
And so what are some of your first memories? Because we're 5 years old today, folks, but what are some of your first memories of being involved with Moms for Liberty as we were just launching?
Well, thanks for having me on the show today. It's funny, when we started talking about doing the show, I was starting to think back, and it's like so much of this has become a blur, and trying to remember how all of this started, because most people have no idea what happened behind the scenes while we were trying to start this little engine that could, at a time where the country had never been more divided, and really organizations were on a mission to take down anything that was effective, that was trying to spread liberty in the country. And so you came to me and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this organization. We're looking at some software to manage our chapters, because we want to have chapters around the country." And I think initially we were looking for something that would take care of about 10 to 20 chapters. And I was like, "Are we sure that's all we're going to need?"
Well, that was the high end because my 5-year business plan said we would be in 5 years, which is where we are today, that we would cover Florida. We did 67 chapters. So that's about right. I think I was estimating 10 chapters in the first year.
And so, so we started talking to companies, and they, there wasn't a lot of great options out there. And we ended up finding one that was kind of this open source application, which we thought was probably a good idea because already we were starting to see that vendors weren't real crazy about working with conservative organizations. And so we had some concerns about that. So we found this open source application, which turned out to be the best decision we ever made because it allowed us to scale up much faster than any of us imagined. So all of a sudden, I think we were at 30 chapters within about 90 days. It was insane.
So most people listening have no idea. I know because I've been living this life now, but I have no idea what open source means. Right. So if you get too techie on me, I'm going to have to bring you down for the normal people over here that are listening. And so I remember you brought me a couple, and one was out of Canada, and I thought, oh, well, surely Canada, a company in Canada would be safe and not cancel us. And then like a week later, the truckers got their banks
the Canadian truckers started the whole thing.
Yeah. And I had actually opened our first bank account with TD Bank, and that's they froze the truckers' TD bank accounts. And I was like, oh no, now what are we going to do? Yeah. And so what does it mean to have an open source?
Yeah, it just means it's not a vendor specific. So it's a shared application. So somebody writes the application and then you can update it and maintain it on your own, basically. Or there's other companies that will maintain it and you can get their version of that software.
Yeah, so we bought it and it was super cheap. Yeah. And we know now why it was super cheap because when we finally brought it to an expert, they were like, this is nothing but spaghetti in the background.
It was what it was.
He was trying to explain how bad the code was. And he was like, Tina, just imagine spaghetti. You pull back the covers and it's just spaghetti. And I'm like, well, we got it for like $2,000.
Yes, and we got our money's worth. But and very quickly we realized this was not going to meet our needs. We had, every single week we were like, but can it do this? Can we do this? Because we grew so fast. People do not understand how quickly this took off. And frankly, every chapter has its own needs. And so we really had to broaden the scope of what we were supporting from an IT perspective. And this software allowed us to do that. But my joke has always been, we thought we were going to be a parental rights organization. It turned out we were a parental rights and software development organization because every week we were doing new things to the software to make it work.
And we found, I think over the time, I don't know how we found like Tony and Tendency, like these different, but we found some great partners.
We did.
Have really kind of surfaced over time. Mm-hmm. And I would just say, but God, because
100%.
We were getting canceled everywhere. We couldn't trust anyone. And so early on, I think you were the one that helped us decide we were going to get our own server and we weren't going to be in some cloud with our data and our storage and our files because it just wasn't, it sounds crazy talking about it now, but it just wasn't safe to to have anything out there.
Yeah, no, it was very early on because I think it was our sort of first moment where we got some visibility, and there was a guy who did a coffee and COVID email.
Jeff Childers, he's on our advisory council.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Jeff sent out this email, and it let people know about Moms for Liberty. And he suggested once every month, I think he picks an organization he asks his readers to donate to. And all of a sudden we started getting all these donations in, right, through PayPal. And I think we got over $100,000 from that.
In one weekend. So up until then, I think our entire budget was $100,000.
Yeah.
And in one weekend, he sent it out on a Thursday or Friday. Yeah. And by Monday, we had brought in $120,000, which was mind-blowing.
It was. And then yet it was sitting in a pot because, again, the truckers got canceled. PayPal decided they weren't going to let us have access to our money.
They froze it.
So now all of a sudden we're looking for other sources to process our payments, places to keep money. Our credit card got canceled from the bank. Our bank card got canceled. We had to change banks. All of these things were happening on the back end, and we're just sitting here with duct tape trying to put it together with the little bit of money that we had. And it was a miracle that this actually got
all volunteering at that time too.
Oh yeah.
And you've always, and we'll get into what you're doing now with us, but again, just on a volunteer role.
Yeah.
Of no benefit to you, actually probably some damage to you, but of no benefit to yourself. You have been giving time to this organization. And for those that are listening that are members or chapter chairs, I think Monique has been just a hidden treasure to our organization this whole time. You're not out in front, you're not speaking on behalf. A lot of our chapter chairs don't, they maybe see you at Summit annually, but that's about it. And so I'm hoping that this episode will give them a little insight into who you are and all the things that you've done for
The
us.
nerds behind the scene.
The nerds. That's that. The IT issue
really
has been a disaster from day one. And so not a disaster, but you were volunteering on top of your job and all of the other things in your life to give me a counsel and advice and give us some direction. But we had no leader of IT, and yet we had the software system and we had to manage our own servers. And so we bring poor Jade on, who had no experience whatsoever, but was like, I'll do anything, I'll help. And so she came in to serve as our IT manager, and she's in charge of our IT when the Southern Poverty Law Center, to go back to the opening, in June of 23, adds us to their hate map. And let's just talk about what that did. Actually, I wonder before we talk about it if we should play. Let's let people. Yeah, let's do that. Let's cut to how we were introduced to what cyber problems we were going to have.
That's right.
Because the Southern Poverty Law Center put us on their hate map. Can we roll that now, you think, Amy?
Anonymous Operation GOP has taken down the website belonging to Moms of Liberty. We told you it was too late to expect us. Now, momsofliberty.org is offline internationally. We demand equality for all humans, not just GOP and those like-minded to them. This is non-negotiable.
So we're just a few weeks prior to our 2023 National Summit. It's our second summit that we're doing. Somehow we ended up with all five of the Republican presidential candidates attending, speaking. They've all been announced. The Southern Poverty Law Center adds us to their hate map. And about the same time, we wake up to that message that we're tagged in and emailed to us, and it's all over the internet. None of our systems will work. And who do I call? I mean, I call Jade, who's like, I'm serving as the best I can to help you in IT, but way out of like anything she's ever dealt with. So of course I call you in a panic. I don't know if you remember.
I remember vividly. I mean, this was the most surreal thing I think that's ever happened. We have this little engine that could, right? I mean, it's like this basic application and a WordPress website.
Of spaghetti.
You have spaghetti and his WordPress website. And we're trying to keep it up long enough for people to register, because not only did the five candidates, one of them was President Trump. And so
we were supposed to stream, obviously, on our website, President Trump, and what it would mean for us for growth. Everybody watching the former president of the United States and the governor of the state of Florida, and the opportunity that was going to bring. And our website was dead in the water. We had no idea what else had been hacked.
Yes, we didn't know whether our donors had been accessed. We didn't know whether our members, all of our chapter chairs information is on the system. And so it was just a very scary day. I remember at one point, just to top off the day, I think it was your dog walked in and threw up all over you.
Really?
Yeah, it was just one of these days where it was like,
I don't remember that
we
part,
were both so tired. We hadn't slept in like 36 hours because all the alerts keep going off that this is down and it's not working. And we're desperately trying to find our vendors that can help us. And thank God for the ones that these were people who were mission aligned, and they stood by our side, and they really did get us out of it. But
we had to invest funds. We had hardly any money. We had to find the money. We had to get the website back up. We had to find people we could trust in this environment where you could trust no one. We had to pay them. We had to identify them. They had to get them up to speed what the problems were. They had to figure it out. And we just had a couple weeks before we left for our national summit, and all this needed to be working and functional. And we had to, the media's calling, has your donor data been accessed? We didn't know at that point. Right. It was extremely stressful. And so we I don't know how you found some cybersecurity team that ended up being amazing. I can't remember his name. It was something with a P, but we were only allowed to communicate through Signal. It was one of these encoded systems. He made me drive all over Florida and buy new laptops, new iPads, new phones from different stores. I wasn't allowed to connect them to any Wi-Fi's. I had to get a different phone service because we didn't know how compromised everything was. So we needed standalone And I'm not a cyber IT anything. It was, I wish I could convey to people the pressure and the intensity and the stress just that was.
It was crazy. And then after we get through the sort of the mechanics of the breach, which did not turn out to be a breach. There was no information stolen. They just kept the site down. We found out in the end. But the first thing we had to do was call the FBI. And you remember how surreal that conversation was.
Yeah, we had the FBI field officer here in the FBI, just for so everyone knows, the previous year and a half, the FBI was calling our moms after school board meetings because Merrick Garland had put out the threat tag, used the Patriot Act against moms in this country. And so the FBI is kind of our enemy. They're investigating moms for just speaking up. But now I have to invite them into my office to protect us because the level of death threats that are coming in and the level of threats that are happening. And then the cyber attack they had to investigate. That wasn't the only cyber attack. That was just the biggest, most public one.
Yeah, I mean, and it was terrifying because we said, okay, so you guys are going to look into this, and they said, well, we'll certainly put it in the system, and if it rises to the level of concern, they will look into it. And I said, well, the fact that you're looking into us right now because we go to school board meetings, is that going to influence your decision? I mean,
you don't know
absurd.
who you can trust. You don't know where you're safe. I mean, I did a interview this morning with a reporter, and he actually interviewed me for a different entity probably 3 years ago. And he said, "Do you remember me?" And I was like, "Well, you're in my phone for this other organization." And he said, "Well, my eyes have been kind of opened." Yeah. And one of his questions was, "Are you surprised that reporters like me 3 years ago didn't understand and didn't see, and that we are so shocked now?" And one of his questions was, "What do you wish America really knew?" And I was like, I wish they knew all that we actually had to overcome and still power through and are still standing, because the story is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, just that moment when the FBI basically said, we're not going to really do anything with this. I mean, he said it without saying it. And so who's looking out for you? This is my country. I never thought in my life that I would be in a situation where my government was more against me than they were for me. And all I was trying to do was to educate parents on how to make sure that they can play a role in their child's upbringing at all levels of government. That would be the biggest threat in America. And now I'm on some crazy wanted list, watch list. That I can't even go to my own government for help when I'm the one being attacked. And there's nobody at the state level to do it. Our sheriffs are not equipped to do it. So literally, there was nobody.
Yeah, so we had to do it ourselves.
We had to do it ourselves.
And with the help of the right people that God placed in our path.
Absolutely.
So it's like, where do I even go from here? We could spend hours, and that's every reporter that's called in the last few days over this SPLC stuff.
My gosh.
They're like, is there anything else you want to add? And I'm like, and this, and this, and this, and this, and that. And so the cyber attacks continued. I do want to make it clear, though, no data was breached, right? We were able to protect our data, but that's a credit to you from the very beginning that we had our own servers. We weren't somewhere that really could be accessed. And that spaghetti system that we bought actually was very stable. It wasn't some random thing, and nobody owned it but us.
That's right.
So we've had to do everything on our own from the beginning. You mentioned PayPal freezing our assets.
Yep. And
all those tickets I put in, all the calls I made, all the emails I sent, just unresponsive. It was all the money we had in the world.
Yeah.
Thank heavens Governor DeSantis stepped in, and
That's right.
he platformed me at a press conference, let me speak about it, and then magically 24 hours later,
isn't that amazing?
Funds
how that
were
happens?
released. And so as hard as it's been, and as much as Satan has thrown at us, God has stepped in, I feel like, at key moments with the right people to open doors for us.
Yep.
Which we've seen in miracle ways too.
Yeah, and I mean, even when we were making decisions, like, I think most companies, when you're starting a company, you're like, well, I just need a basic contact management software. I've never in my life been through something like that where every single vendor was disqualified because of not being aligned with our interests.
Yeah, Salesforce. Most people use Salesforce, but they had canceled Alliance Defending Freedom, and so I can't use them. And so literally, we had to pray for God to bring us. Like, there was no other way for us to find systems or people or cybersecurity teams. And he's always delivered. So I'm thankful for that.
We almost made a mistake. We went with one, and then they canceled Daily Wire. And so we were like, oh gosh, we just finally signed with them. And within a couple of months, we're like, let's get out of this and move a different
that was
direction.
later with the add-on CRM.
It's just, the went on for longer than most people realize. And still to this day, I mean, I think we understand that there are those that are on the mission and there are those that are not. And everything we do, it needs to be based on that decision first.
So you bring up the mission. Let's talk about that a little bit. So what would you say, and maybe I'm feeding you the answer here, but what would you say has kept you, me, everyone that's still with this organization going through, we just touched on a few things, but going through all of this, why do you think everybody stays on mission? Oh, I just gave you the answer. What do you think gets everybody through?
Well, I mean, first of all, you said I gave so much to this organization. This organization's given so much to me. It's the future. I'm gonna get weepy.
I've got tissues.
Okay, yeah, this should be on the counter. We know better than that after the first time at Summit when we all started crying. No, it's our kids. I mean, that's it. It's about the kids. It's about the country we want to leave them, and it's the last place on earth where we have what we have.
And I think our people know that.
Yep.
And so they stay on mission, which has been, our mission, for those that may not know, or this is your first episode, is to save America. That's the first part of our mission. But we're going to do that by unifying, educating, and empowering parents to defend their parental rights at all levels of government.
That's right.
And I'd like to talk about that a little bit more with you, about that mission statement and what, because you've served on our advisory council for three plus years from the very beginning, and then you joined the board of directors for, was it just Moms? No, it was Moms Liberty and Moms Liberty Foundation together. I don't know, has it been almost a year and a half, 2 years now?
I think we're coming up on
2.5, 3 years, probably
2.5 years.
And so what was that transition like? And did it have anything to do with the mission of the organization? And, what's it like to serve on our board of directors?
So, IT challenges are one thing. I would say that organizational challenges are a different kind of challenge, right? It is equally difficult. And I don't think I understood the complexity of the organization that we have created and how hard it is. I often joked early on that we are like Mary Kay meets the NRA. We have no control over these groups that have become our chapters across the country. I mean, when I say control, I mean they're on mission with us, but their idea what's appropriate for them locally is very different than from one place to another. And they all have their own ideas about how to communicate and get the word out and do the activities that they do. And so if you think about it, I mean, that you realize quickly how God has been on this, because it is the moral center of every individual that's part of this organization that has kept us going in the right direction and not sent people off and not done things that discredit the organization or hurt the organization. It's really kind of a miracle.
It's remarkable is what it is. But I'll say from early on, I know in my prayers, like, bring us the right people, bring us the right people. And it doesn't mean that we haven't had a few wrong people here and there, but with 130,000 people across the country, 300 chapters, and, another, I don't know, 100 or 200 chapter leaders that have come and gone or transitioned out over the 5 years. That's a lot of people that could have done severe damage to the organization with the wrong people let in. And early on, we had hardly any screening. I didn't have a code of conduct. It was just like, be a joyful warrior. That was all we said. Now we have a code of conduct. We didn't really have a contract for chapter chairs other than a few sentences. And so early on, we just were blessed with some really great people. And today, still blessed with great people.
Yeah. And we've grown as an organization. And so I think one of the biggest challenges is how do we get to that next level without compromising our mission, right? We are not changing what we are here to do. And you've been excellent at making sure that we don't go outside the lines, because it's easy to do, right? There's a lot of things.
People want us all the time. They're like, oh, effective organization. Can you come, fight for my sick puppies? Can you come save the whales? Can you do everything? And I'm like, oh, as much as I love puppies and whales, we've got to stay focused. There's no one else doing the exact work that we are doing.
That's correct. And so I think from a board member perspective, I learned a couple things that were important. So we talked about the SPLC, and they're an excellent example of this. The guys who started the SPLC, I think, started the organization with the right idea, and their board of directors was hijacked, and so they threw the founder of the organization out. And so
Really, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And so the group, I think it happened kind of during the Obama administration that it was sort of hijacked.
Wait, no, there was a guy fired. Their CEO was fired, but he was a bad dude. Is that who you're talking about, or is
it was him? Yeah, and there were I think 2 co-founders, but ultimately the board became kind of the reason why he was removed, and their mission changed. It was interesting, and that was a great lesson. And then not too long ago, we had Project Veritas was an organization that expanded their board quickly. And so James O'Keefe was thrown out of his own organization by the board. And there's some speculation about why that happened. But I mean, it was very clear to me early on that we had to be super careful about how we expand our board. And yet, as a growing organization, we absolutely had to expand the board. So we have the Moms for Liberty Foundation, and we had the Moms for Liberty organization. And initially, we just had the exact same board on both. But as we want to grow and we want to do things like apply for grants, and you have a responsibility to make sure that both the boards are diversified and that they're big enough to have the skill sets that you need. I mean, you and I are very much alike, and so I think we needed a lot of gaps.
Well, you brought, even in the advisory council, you brought that IT perspective, which I didn't have, and so that's the beauty of larger boards that bring in skill sets to advise on and help organizations shape and grow. And so it's wonderful because we made the decision, I guess, the end of last year that, the 2 different boards, and what are we going to do with the the second board of the Moms for Liberty Foundation. And so we've added 2 people.
I know.
Well, we added Deborah on the Moms for Liberty side,
which was great because you and I are both strategic thinkers and not super bogged down in the weeds. And there's this thing called governance, which is really important in the board. And as you get, there has to be a certain discipline, and she has incredible executive experience on several boards, and she brought that to us, which I think we desperately needed as well.
And then we added 2 people to the Moms for Liberty Foundation board. Tell us about those.
So one of my very favorites is Katie Gorka, and she has been, she was part of Heritage for a long time. She's just been on mission with different organizations this whole time, and a godly woman who very much grounded and connected in Washington, which is helpful to a lot of these other organizations. She's been
just like a salt of the earth kind of woman, I would say.
Really
Katie
is.
So she works now for AFPI, but also doing work for the U.S. Department of Education. She's traveling on behalf of the Secretary McMahon right now, and she sits on our board of directors for the Moms for Liberty Foundation. Yep. And then we have Joe Kakady, our newest addition to the foundation board.
Yeah, I mean, he's a successful entrepreneur, and he brings that big picture perspective, and just always has. He's one of those speaks little, but when he says something, you're like, you listen. He's just an amazing, also a godly man. And I think that's an important, I mentioned, our moral foundation supersedes everything else we do because it's so much embedded in this organization. That's what keeps us on our focus.
And Joe's our first man. So there's that. Yeah. But you talk about the moral foundation. It just reminds me of the founders and their quotes about a virtuous, like this form of government is only appropriate for a virtuous people.
That's right.
And so part of us in saving America is we have to work to be a virtuous organization and a virtuous people. And I think our members get that and know that as a whole and really try to hold each other accountable to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not tied to a specific religion, but I think we all share that common. It's the foundational principles that guide America. So if that's what we're trying to do is to restore America, then that has to be the foundation, the fabric of our organization.
Yeah. So let's talk about the mission statement again, and as it applies to your role on both of our boards, the foundation and Moms for Liberty, and your thoughts, just like the future of the organization. Because as a board member, it's obviously you keep an eye on the financials and approve those. You approve new chapters. Some of the I guess, traditional role of operational things that feed up to the board, but you also help kind of cast the direction and the vision of where the organization should go or where maybe it's lacking a little bit in our strategic plan. And so any thoughts there?
Just, I think, we had that meeting. It was after a long session up in Tallahassee. I went straight to Orlando, and we had an all-day board meeting, and we were trying to figure out where do we go next. We've really taken on some things, especially the Department of Education, and we're making some success and headway there. What's next? And our biggest nemesis was the unions. And we sat and decided, how do we take this on? I mean, how many people get to sit in a room with two other people and say, we're going to destroy the unions? How do we do it? The teachers' unions. And then that became the focus of our year. And it's amazing how these conversations turn into, you take these visions and turn them into reality. And
we got a congressional bill sponsored on ending the NEA charter, the congressional charter that they have. It hasn't gone anywhere, but we did a press conference out there. We drew attention to it, and then I hear people speaking about it still calling for it, and so creating some momentum there alone. I think we did with that for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's just a delight to sit at home and I'm reading Twitter and I'm like, oh wow, we did that in a board meeting. Now it's real because we have 150 warriors out there doing this and making those things actually happen. So I think the board has been really doing two things. One, how do we keep on mission? Some of the challenges we've had is there's this MAHA movement has been a big topic of discussion, especially with our moms. And I think that there's a lot of aspects of that go to parental rights and wanting to direct the upbringing of your child. So where's the line for us, right? And so we've had to make some of those decisions and discussions throughout. And then also kind of how do we expand as we are expanding into federal. So now that we have the White House back, that's been helpful. They're no longer coming after us. We actually have allies there now, and they are looking to help us and include us. And so there's been a lot of balancing act to decide, what we're doing locally. We're still focused on making sure that we're electing good school board members. But we're also at the White House a lot. In fact, we're even in the press room. And most people don't understand the voice that gives the organization. And it gets us so far in so many circles to expand and continue at another level.
Yeah, the access, Scarlett and Rosalind both have press passes. And it's just the access, I would say, to our federal government. It's remarkable because we were not only blocked out of it, they were coming after us just 4 short years ago. And so the transition has been, I guess, fantastic. And so thank you for leading in that and standing by in that. In that same meeting, I don't know if you remember, we talked for the first time about a potential event on Ellis Island.
Yes, I know.
And here we are. Yeah. So in just a few days, we are going to be on Ellis Island celebrating America's 250th birthday and Moms for Liberty's 5th birthday. Yeah. And we are excited. The event is now sold out, but you have the opportunity to join us with a free live watch party. We're going to throw to a commercial here about the event, and we'll be right back with Monique Miller, State Representative Monique Miller, on our board of directors. We're going to talk about a little bit more right after this break.
Today, I'm excited to announce another extraordinary night, this time on Ellis Island.
One really fun event happening this year to celebrate the 250th anniversary is something happening on Ellis Island. The American Journey Experience is partnering with Moms for Liberty and The Torch to present Sea to Shining Sea. Join us on Ellis Island in New York City on May 2nd, 2026 for a powerful celebration of America.
Join us in lifting the bedrock of our strength, a nation that welcomes immigrants.
The night will end with fireworks over the Statue of Liberty and an after party right there on Ellis Island.
We want to see you there.
I think this could be one of the most memorable nights I have ever been a part of.
Come and join us on May 2nd, 2026, and come find your American dream story. Welcome back to the Fire of Liberty show. I'm Tina Deskovich, the CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty. My guest today is State Representative Monique Miller. She's on the board of directors of Moms for Liberty and Moms for Liberty Foundation. We're having a great discussion about some of the history of Moms for Liberty because this is our 5th anniversary. You just saw a video about our event that's in just a few days on Ellis Island, celebrating that 5th anniversary and also America's 250th anniversary. It's a sold-out event, so you cannot join us, but you can join us on Real America's Voice. We are going to be having a live stream, and people are holding watch parties. I think we've had over 200 people sign up across the country to host a watch party. It doesn't mean you have to sit and watch on TV with your friends, but you could have a party celebrating America's 250th birthday, put us on in the background, enjoy some of the speeches by Glenn Beck and David Barton and Tim Barton. It's going to be Jack Brewer's giving the invocation. That's going to be powerful. Just him giving the invocation. The musical performances are going to be phenomenal. And then, of course, the fireworks show. Mary Milben is going to be singing the national anthem as the fireworks go off over the Statue of Liberty. Guys, just turn it on for that, if nothing else.
Chills.
It's going to be so fun. You're going to be there with us, obviously.
You know, it's one of the. This event is it's like rekindling the fire that makes us all understand what America was founded on. And I told my husband, I know there's so many moms out there that have been working with our organization, and it's hard because you're sacrificing so much time. And I'm sure sometimes you have spouses that don't totally understand all the time you're devoting to this. It's one of those events that helps us all understand what we are doing, why we are doing it, and how successfully we are doing it. It's just...
I love how you said that. It brings us back to the core reason. And we're going to celebrate stories of immigration. You know, my grandparents came through, most people's family members of some, if not their parents or grandparents. We're going to have a gentleman there who's actually sponsoring, he was one of the last in that last year, came through Ellis Island when he was 3 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And so that grand hall where the dinner is, he actually walked through there as a 3-year-old to become an American and fulfill the American dream. And he's wildly successful CEO now. And so he invested a lot for us to be able to support, to put this event on. And so
my husband is coming because he wants to see the book where his grandparents came through Ellis Island.
So great.
I know.
It's going to be quite a night. And so you were there when we first came up with the idea, and now it's going to be executed, and we're going to enjoy that evening.
Yeah, I remember when you came in and you said, "Did you know that we can rent Ellis Island?" And I was like, "What? This is so cool."
I know.
Yeah, this is going to be amazing.
I know. So many people in the organization were like, "What are we doing now?" Yes, we're going to do this.
Yes, we're doing this.
It's going to be so fun. Okay, so I want to move in a little bit because we keep introducing you as the Florida State Representative. And you were not the Florida State Representative when we started Moms for Liberty.
Correct.
And so I want to talk about, let's start with, why did you run? You were already affiliated because you were on the advisory council, I think, when you ran. I'm not sure if you were on the board of directors yet at that point. Maybe you were. Were you on the board of directors?
I think it's right when I switched was in the middle
about
of
the same
campaign.
time you joined the board of directors. There's a lot of people that have opinions about carrying the Moms for Liberty name when they run for office. So I want to talk about that a little bit too. But let's start with why. Why did you decide to run for state rep?
So first of all, I had run for office before, so I have always had an interest in politics, but I really decided that it was probably not the right thing to do, and I was not intending to do it again. But after being involved with Moms for Liberty and seeing what one voice can do, the impact one voice can have in a legislative body, I was like, you know what? I have to do this because this is one way where I'm a policy wonk. I'm a total nerd about it. I love it. This is one way where I can go and get these ideas into law and to try and change some of the things firsthand. And so I felt strongly that it was something I had to do. And as you know, in that process, there were 2 other Moms for Liberty. One was the chapter chair from West Palm Beach and one from Naples. And they both ran as well. And all 3 of us had really tough races, I think 3 or 4-way races each. And we were not necessarily the sure win. We all ran on Moms for Liberty, and we all won. And so we now have 3 legislators carrying the Moms for Liberty flag in Tallahassee.
That's just, that was such a fun night. And there was others around the country that night too that decided to run.
Yeah.
And, we don't even endorse in Moms in state legislative races. So you guys ran without any Moms for Liberty monetary support or no endorsement, no PAC. But you still carried the name, the banner proudly. All 3 of you and the others that won too around the country ran as a Moms for Liberty chapter chair or a member of the board of directors. So did you find it to be overall positive because you ran and you won with it? But were there negative moments where you were like, oh boy? This is hard carrying the Moms for Liberty name.
There was one time, I'm not going to lie, there was one time where we got hit with a little bit of a story, and I was door knocking, and they were like, how could you? And I was like, all right, we'll try a different neighborhood for a little while. So I just shifted. It's, you know how it is. It's just like politics. You know, everything that seems like it's going to be the worst thing in the world, it all passes and you move on. And just the most important thing is being consistent. And so whatever.
You just said all of that in passing, but I think I might want to clip this later, because what you just said probably needs to be played for every new chapter chair in Moms for Liberty, because you know, when you're not used to this, it does feel like the world is ending often.
Yep.
And then, but how did you just said it perfectly? Like,
it's just, you know, it's in that moment, it feels like the world is ending. It always passes. And it's about consistency over time. And that's the image that people end up having of you in the end.
100%.
It's never as bad as it is. And by the way, when they tell you how great you are, it's never that good either. So don't forget that too.
Yeah. That passes too quickly.
Yeah.
That's what I even say about people that are freaking out sometimes about things happening in DC.
Just take a breath.
And I'm like, and they're like, what are we going to do about the midterms? This is bad right now. And I'm like, that's like 10 years away in political times. Like, people, the news cycle lasts 24 to 48 hours, you know, 3 days if it's a really crazy story.
Yeah.
And it passes.
Yep. Good and bad.
Good. And I know, unfortunately, the good too, because you got to keep inputting the good.
That's right.
So overall, though, a positive.
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing. It really has. So I came in, I was very blessed. I had an amazing freshman class. We're term limited in Florida, so we can run for a total of 8 years in 2-year increments. And so they call it a class coming in like in high school, right? So the freshman class was made up of, I think, some of the more mature folks that we've had. I mean, I think there were 2 people that were 40 and under out of a class of 27. So it was pretty interesting and different. And these are people who already had accomplished things in their life. And it just really is a different group of folks. And the leadership had really changed in Florida this year. The Speaker of the House really wanted it to be a member-driven process and gave us an opportunity to go do our thing. So I actually got to go run big bills, and I have done exactly that. I mean, if you're going to leave your family and go up to Tallahassee for 4 or 5 months out of the year, you want to accomplish something. And so I've just run with it and done big things.
Have you done anything that would be recognizable or affiliated with the Moms for Liberty mission? Have you been able to carry anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jonathan Haidt is one of my favorite folks.
Yeah.
He read a book that I think a lot of us, The Anxious Generation, a lot of us loved. He is part of an organization, or he founded an organization called Let Grow. And I loved what they were trying to do. And their mission is to let kids just be kids again. Get off the screens, go outside and play. And right before I got elected, there was a story out of Georgia where a mom had let her kid go to the store by himself. And I think he was like 12 years old, walked to the store by himself. Somebody called the police. She was arrested for not letting a 12-year-old go to the store.
12.
It was insane. And it was just down the street, rural Georgia. It was not in the middle of a city. There was really no excuse for it. Even if it were in a city, who cares? Let your kid go be a kid and show that they can do things in life. And so I felt strongly that this was something that we should do in Florida, because in fact the law was bad in Florida. And so I worked with their organization, and we got it through on the first try. So
it got signed into law?
Got signed into law.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, kids can go outside and be kids again.
Not just that, but having a bill that passes both the House and the Senate and signed by a governor as a freshman is a big deal.
It is.
That's one. Mm-hmm. Do you have more than one that has made it through and signed?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So I had another, it was a gun bill that was just for being able to protect your families during an emergency. Believe it or not, during a hurricane in Florida, they were not letting people leave their property with their concealed carry permit, which is allowed in Florida under other circumstances. So it was it was a bad law that we repealed. So that became law as well. I had 2 bills that went across this year, but they have not been signed by the governor. We're waiting on signatures just now. But one of the things I didn't realize is that I was so tied to Moms for Liberty that every bill I ran was going to be scrutinized through that lens. And so I had done something on like
There's a lot of blessings to be tied to Moms for Liberty, but sometimes it makes things a little bit more challenging, for sure.
Yeah, well, one of my bills kind of threw it back on Moms for Liberty because it was a bill, in fact, that the governor wanted, and I was running it for the governor. It was a bill on changing the age of employment, so 16-year-olds could do things like vocational training, a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, which, by the way, I don't think any of our chapters got behind, or so I don't care. It wasn't on our
It was
legislative
not, no,
agenda.
it
It
had
wasn't on
nothing
our
to do.
radar. But in reverse, we had to take the heat.
Yes.
For that. I was getting emails like, Moms for Liberty supports child labor. I'm like, what are you talking about? I had no idea where it was coming from.
Yeah, no, I was getting death threats. My staff couldn't go to work. It was because they all said that we were trying to, replace immigrants with kids, and we were trying to start this child labor thing. It was insane. It was completely. I mean, I had international press calling me on this bill, and then of course they ended up throwing it back to Moms for Liberty. So sorry about that.
It turns out we have pretty thick skin and can take that.
Exactly. And nobody remembers. So there you go.
Yeah, because the news cycle is over. So that, I don't know. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for running. What we've seen nationwide is the Moms for Liberty legislators are amazing.
Yeah.
Representative Fett there in Iowa, they gave her the most challenging bill to run, getting gender ideology out of their civil rights code. Because nobody wanted it. She said they were in the room and they were like, who will run this, right? And she stood up and said, here I am.
I have a great story about that. There were a group of pastors that came to visit me maybe a month ago. And I said, who else are you visiting while you were here? And they named off 3 other legisladies. I call them legisladies. 3 other women in the legislature. And I said, no guys? And they said, nope, you guys are the ones doing the hard work. And they said, can we pray for you? And I said, I would love that. And he said, anything specific? And I asked, one of the honors I have in my life is serving on the board of Moms for Liberty. And Steve Deace, who's a wonderful conservative talk show host out of Iowa, always says, Moms for Liberty is a fantastic organization, but it shouldn't have to exist. Where are the men? And I said, if you would pray for the men to step up, I would be so grateful, because I think our women are working really hard and we're getting tired and we could use a little, fresh arm in here. So it's just amazing. Every one of the legislators that did the big bills, they were all women in the legislature here, and with almost little exception. Except for one pastor. We have 2 pastors and two pastors did some good stuff.
I mean, when it comes to the activism work that we did 21 through 24, I kind of understood it. Traditionally, not always, men are the breadwinners and their careers are sustaining the families, especially with the women that were with Moms for Liberty early on. And so a lot of us weren't worried about losing our jobs and things of that nature, which was absolutely happening to others. And some women, like in Seattle, we went through 3, this close to getting a chapter chair there 3 or 4 times. And my husband is a police officer, one said, and I can't. It'll hurt his career. My husband works for Boeing. Right. I absolutely can't. It'll hurt his career. And so, but for the men to come out and do it, they really would lose their livelihood for their family. But what's their excuse right now?
I don't know. But what's powerful is it really does. Just one voice makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. Yvette Benaroche, who serves with me at the Moms for Liberty from Southwest Florida, she ran huge bills this session, and they got massive attention, and it empowered the men. And I think maybe shamed them a little when they see me. I ran the largest bill we had, and I think it was the largest tax exemption we got rid of property taxes in the state of Florida in the Florida House. It was the largest tax reduction.
But that did not get signed, right? I don't want people.
It did not. No, but it was the largest bill passed by a tax reduction passed by a chamber of a legislative body in the entire country in our history.
Wow.
So it was a huge bill. And I just, think we have maybe shamed these guys because they're all talking about what they're going to do next.
Good.
And for the first time, I think they're starting to say.
We'll reverse that. We're not going to say you shamed them. You inspired them.
Okay, we'll do that.
Courage begets courage.
It does.
You're leading the way. You're showing them what can be done with a little bit of courage.
Yeah. I mean, look, I did it and nothing happened to me. I'm still alive and we're all good.
Got beat up a little here and there, but you're still standing. And when I talk to some of the others, legisladies, as you like to call them, that are serving now in the different parts of the country, they really attribute Moms for Liberty for preparing them 100%. To go Shelley, who is a previous guest on the show, is serving in a city council seat right now in Iowa, and under immense attack right now. Immense. They've just hacked all of her social media sites, and it's really it's horrible what they're doing to her at a city council level. But she said, Moms for Liberty prepared me for the debate they're having about the policy right now. We took her the whole team to Texas last year at Patriot Academy and did a whole legislative training, and they just say, I could not do this. I wouldn't have the thick skin. I wouldn't have the knowledge. I wouldn't know Robert's rules. I wouldn't know all of these things. And when I hear those stories, I'm like, yes, what we are doing is working. It is helping citizens be good citizens and empowered citizens serving in their community. And so I'm just so proud of everybody.
I know.
It's wonderful to watch and see.
It's an honor to be on that team of legislators across the country doing this, and you are 100% right. That's what prepared us is going through what I went through here. Again, God does it with a plan, and
you can make it through, and you come out on the other side, and you're still standing. We've learned so much.
Yes, we have.
Okay, we're going to do best of, worst of, and then we'll do our final question because we're just about out of time. Your favorite thing about Moms for Liberty?
So I travel quite a bit. And so every kind of time I go to another country, I bring my Moms for Liberty shirt. And so I was just in Nicaragua with my Moms for Liberty shirt, and I was in Israel with my Moms for Liberty shirt. And I love that it's everywhere. And I don't think there's ever been a time where somebody hasn't on a plane there or once I get there said, oh, Moms for Liberty, we've heard of that.
I love it. We had a state legislator in Georgia who wore her Moms for Liberty hat. She was at the Eiffel Tower, and same conversation. Yeah. Oh, we love Moms for Liberty at the Eiffel Tower in France.
We are a brand, and
it is huge. I know. It's so exciting to be part of it.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick little, I think like a 30-second, we're going to show you this because you just mentioned your shirt, wearing it globally. I'm actually wearing one of our shirts today. This is one of my favorite shirts. It's just Lady Liberty. It's classic. It's timeless.
Yep.
And we're going to show you a little video of Missy and some of our merch right now.
2026 is kind of a big deal at Moms for Liberty. This marks our 5th anniversary of unifying parents to hold government accountable. Yeah, we survived despite the odds, the many adversaries, and all the predictions we couldn't make it. But even more exciting, this year we are thrilled to be official partners with Freedom 250, celebrating America's 250th birthday. With so much to celebrate, we've released some special, limited edition commemorative merch that you do not want to miss. So if you love liberty and believe that parents, not the government, should be raising their kids, head over to momsforliberty.org/store to grab yours. And while you're there, check out all the other cool gear. We have something for everyone, from tiny tots, fur babies, all the way up to grandma, everything in between, and for your house. Every purchase supports the mission and helps spread the word. Again, that's momsforliberty.org/store. What are you waiting for? Go now before it sells out.
We are chuckling over here on the break. We haven't even giggled through this whole episode. I'm so proud of us. I thought this was just going to be a little bit off the rails, but I think we've done a good job. So get your merch, Moms for Liberty merch. It's so fun to wear. It's so fun. It's a conversation starter. My favorite is our jacket. I wear it on the plane always. Yeah. And when I'm walking down. I love that jacket. Yeah, I know. It's such a great jacket. And when I'm walking down the middle of the plane, I just watch everybody. I watch their eyes. Some people will see the Moms for Liberty logo and fist bump. Others, you see them, they see the logo and then they look away. Immediately they're like, oh, I know who you are. You
like
are
their blue hair didn't give it away, but okay.
Yeah, it's great. So get your merch today. Welcome back to the show. We're going to this is the last little segment. We're going to wrap it up. I hate to cut to this, but you just told us your favorite thing before the break about Moms for Liberty. Did you tell us?
I did.
What did you say?
The fact that everybody sees the brand and goes,
oh, the brand. That's how we got to the commercial. Yeah. Okay. And so I don't know that I want to hear this, but your least favorite thing?
I think it's, so I've always worked in a very male dominated industry.
Yeah, me too. Before Moms for Liberty.
I never worked with a lot of women. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of estrogen. Yeah. I had a hard time kind of relating to that a little bit because we come from very different backgrounds. I was very much in corporate America all of my career. And not everybody has that background. And so trying to build an organization with all these different levels of experience and expertise, everybody has something important to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. They all have a different perspective. It's easy to get into the minutia, the infighting, not losing track of the big picture, the big mission that we're on, right? And so I didn't anticipate the level of that we might have to deal with.
People are people.
People are people.
Yeah. And so instead of saying your least favorite thing, the most challenging thing, I guess, would have been the way to phrase that better. And then our final question for every episode is, what does it mean to you to be a joyful warrior?
So it's interesting because now as a legislator, I have people come to see me and advocate for their positions. And I think what it means to be a joyful warrior is to be effective. Because whenever somebody comes to talk to me about, it can be anything, something I completely disagree with, as long as you're doing it from a position of intent, like this is really important to you, and you are good and kind in the way that you do it, I will always listen to you. People who have hate in their hearts, I don't care what you're touting. I don't want anything to do with it. And it makes me so proud to see how effective we are because we know our stuff and we put a smile on our face, and nobody can take you down when you're smiling because they actually hate you more for it.
I love that. Every week we get the best answers for that question. This is one of my favorites. It's effective. At first, when you said effective, I thought, well, that's not joyful necessarily. But then with your explanation, you're effective because you're doing it in a joyful way. And so it's really important. It's not in our mission statement to be joyful warriors, but it is our mantra. And I think it's been highly effective to be a joyful warrior. And so that concludes our today's episode of the Fire of Liberty show. I'm Tina Deskovich, the CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty. My guest today was Florida State Representative Monique Miller, who serves on the Moms for Liberty Board of Directors and the Moms for Liberty Foundation Board of Directors. Today, we covered a variety of topics, including the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm asking you to go to momsforliberty.org/SPLC. Look at that timeline. We're still building it out. We put the major milestones on there of what the Southern Poverty Law Center has done to Moms for Liberty. And we have so much more to add. So check back regularly and uncover, peel those onion layers back and learn what that despicable organization has done, not just to us, but to our entire country. Please join us every week here live on all our social media accounts at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. And you can always find us on Apple and Spotify. Please share with other folks if you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week.